The massive alien fleet appeared without warning. Their dark ships blocked out the stars above Earth's major cities, casting enormous shadows across the land below. The world held its breath, waiting for any sign of their intentions. Military commanders worldwide ordered their forces to stand ready but not to engage. Humanity had never faced a threat of this scale before. Admiral James Walker stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty, his weathered hands gripped tightly behind his back as he studied the tactical displays. 30 years of military service hadn't prepared him for this moment. The alien vessels were unlike anything humanity had ever seen, organic-looking structures that seemed to pulse with an inner light. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," reported Lieutenant Tom Miller, his voice steady despite the tension. "It's being broadcast globally." The message that followed was simple but chilling: "Your species has been deemed too dangerous to exist. Surrender now and accept extinction, or we will take it by force. You have one Earth rotation to comply." The aliens, calling themselves the Unity, had been watching humanity for centuries. They had witnessed humanity's wars, their rapid technological advancement, and most importantly, their potential for violence. The Unity saw humans as a plague that needed to be contained before they reached the stars. What the Unity didn't understand was that threatening humanity would only prove their point about human nature, but not in the way they expected. President Anna Reid's response to the global broadcast was equally brief: "We choose to survive." Her words, transmitted from the underground bunker of the White House, carried the weight of every human on Earth. The Unity didn't wait for the full rotation. Their first strike came 6 hours later, targeting military installations across the globe. But humanity had used those 6 hours well. Years of preparing for potential alien contact hadn't been wasted, though no one had expected first contact to be so hostile. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Robert Wilson and his team worked frantically to decode the alien transmission signals. Each burst of data could reveal crucial information about their technology, their weaknesses. "There's a pattern here," he muttered, his fingers flying across the keyboard. "Their communications, they're not as advanced as we thought. They rely too heavily on predictable frequencies." Meanwhile, in orbit, the crew of the International Space Station became humanity's first line of defense. Commander Lisa Thompson and her team had modified the station's sensors to track the alien fleet's movements, transmitting vital data back to Earth. They noticed something peculiar: the alien ships moved in perfect formation, almost like a single organism. As the first waves of alien fighters descended through Earth's atmosphere, humanity's response was anything but predictable. Instead of meeting the alien force head-on, Earth's military forces executed a carefully coordinated plan. Submarine-launched missiles targeted specific points in the alien formation, disrupting their perfect synchronization. Ground-based EMPs, modified hastily based on Dr. Wilson's analysis, caused dozens of alien fighters to fall from the sky. The Unity had expected submission or desperate, uncoordinated resistance. What they got instead was humanity's unique blend of innovation, determination, and controlled aggression. The first day of combat proved that while the aliens might have superior technology, humans had something they didn't: adaptability and the fierce will to survive. As night fell over North America, Admiral Walker received reports from around the globe. Despite heavy losses, human forces had managed to hold their ground. More importantly, they had learned valuable lessons about their enemy. The Unity's perfect coordination was both a strength and a weakness: disrupt their formation, and their effectiveness dropped significantly. "Send word to all commands," Walker ordered, his voice firm. "We've weathered the first strike. Now it's our turn to show them why humanity shouldn't be underestimated." The first part of Earth's greatest war had begun, and humanity's message was clear: they would not go quietly into the night. The Unity had made a crucial mistake in their assessment: they had confused humanity's capacity for violence with their will to survive. Now they would learn the difference, and the cost would be steep. 3 days after the initial attack, humanity made a discovery that would change the course of the war. In an underground lab in Geneva, Dr. Mary Cooper stared at her computer screen in disbelief. She had been analyzing debris from a downed Unity fighter when she noticed something extraordinary. The alien ships, they're partially biological, she announced to the team of international scientists gathered around her workstation. They're not just machines. They're living organisms merged with technology. This revelation spread quickly through military channels. The Unity's seemingly invincible fleet had a vulnerability: their ships were alive, and like all living things, they could get sick. Admiral Walker received the news while coordinating a defensive operation in the Pacific. So we're not just fighting machines, he mused, we're fighting something that can be affected by biological weapons. A plan began to form in his mind. The Unity continued their assault, but their initial confidence had been shaken. Human forces were proving remarkably resilient, adapting their tactics faster than the Unity's hive mind could respond. What started as a simple extinction mission was becoming increasingly costly. Deep in the Brazilian rainforest, Professor David Banks had made another crucial discovery. His team had been studying the Unity's communication patterns when they noticed the aliens were susceptible to information overload. Their perfect coordination relied on constant data exchange, and that could be exploited. It's like giving someone too many instructions at once, Banks explained to military leaders via secure video link. Their neural network can't handle conflicting information. We can use this. Humanity's counterattack began with something seemingly simple: noise. Thousands of small drones, hastily modified with broadcasting equipment, were launched into the Unity's formations. Each drone transmitted random patterns of data on the exact frequencies the aliens used to communicate. The effect was immediate and devastating. Unity ships began to move erratically, their perfect formation dissolving into chaos. Some ships crashed into each other, while others withdrew from Earth's atmosphere, their biological systems overwhelmed by the data assault. In orbit, Commander Thompson and her crew on the International Space Station observed the confusion spreading through the alien fleet. They're not used to this kind of tactical chaos, she reported. Their hive mind is their weakness, they can't handle independent thought. Meanwhile, Dr. Cooper's team had developed a virus specifically designed to target the biological components of Unity vessels. It was a risky strategy, but humanity was fighting for survival. The virus was loaded into missiles and conventional weapons, turning every human strike into a potential infection vector. The Unity's command structure began to show signs of strain. Their ships started to maintain distance from each other, afraid of contamination. The perfect coordination that had made them so formidable was breaking down. They thought we were just violent, President Reed observed during an Emergency Security Council meeting. They never considered that our greatest strength is our ability to think independently and adapt. By the end of the first week, the tide of battle had shifted. Unity ships were retreating from Earth's atmosphere, their biological components compromised by human ingenuity. The aliens had never encountered a species that could turn their own advantages against them so quickly. Admiral Walker stood on his ship's deck, watching the Unity fleet withdraw from another failed attack. "Send a message to their command," he ordered. "Tell them we're just getting started." The message was broadcast on all frequencies: "You came to exterminate us because you feared what we might become. Now you're learning why that fear was justified. But it's not our capacity for violence you should have feared, it's our determination to survive. Retreat now, or face the consequences of your mistake." The Unity had come expecting to find a violent but predictable species. Instead, they found themselves facing an enemy that turned their own strengths into weaknesses, adapted faster than they could respond, and refused to follow the rules of conventional warfare. The second phase of the war had begun, and humanity was no longer fighting defensively, they were taking the fight to the stars. 2 weeks into the war, humanity made its boldest move yet. A captured Unity scout ship provided Earth scientists with the key to interstellar travel. In a hidden facility beneath the Nevada desert, engineers worked around the clock to adapt the alien technology to human spacecraft. Dr. Jack Miller, lead engineer of Project LEAP, watched as workers installed the modified drive system into Earth's first advanced starship, the Phoenix. "It's not pretty," he said to Admiral Walker, "but it'll get our forces where they need to go." The Phoenix was a hybrid of human and Unity technology, built from the ground up to be unpredictable. Unlike the Unity's bioorganic ships, the Phoenix was purely mechanical, immune to the biological weapons that had proven so effective against the alien fleet. President Reed authorized the first counteroffensive. "We're no longer fighting for just survival," she announced to the Joint Chiefs. "We're fighting to show the Unity that humanity will not be bullied into extinction." The mission was simple but daring. A strike team would infiltrate Unity space using their own captured technology against them. Commander Bill Foster, a veteran pilot with a reputation for unconventional tactics, was chosen to lead the mission. Remember, Foster briefed his crew, "The Unity thinks in perfect patterns. Our advantage is that we don't. Use that chaos, it's our greatest weapon." The Phoenix launched under cover of darkness, carrying a payload that would change the course of the war. Dr. Cooper's team had developed an advanced version of their biological weapon, designed to spread through the Unity's central worlds. But this wasn't a weapon of mass destruction, it was something far more clever. "The virus won't kill them," Dr. Cooper explained during the final briefing. "It'll break their hive-mind connection. Force them to think as individuals." As the Phoenix approached the first Unity world, they encountered something unexpected. The alien homeworld's defenses were minimal. The Unity had committed so many resources to Earth's invasion that they'd left their own worlds vulnerable. "They never expected us to strike back," Foster observed as they entered orbit. "They thought we'd be too busy defending ourselves to even think about a counterattack." The release of the virus was subtle. Small drones, similar to those used on Earth, dispersed the agent into the Unity's atmospheric processors. Within hours, the effects began to show. Back on Earth, intelligence officers monitored Unity communications with growing excitement. The perfect synchronization of alien transmissions was breaking down. Individual voices began to emerge from the hive mind. "They're experiencing individual thought for the first time," Professor Banks reported, analyzing the signals. "Some of them are questioning the war. They're beginning to understand us." The Unity fleet above Earth fell into disarray as the connection to their homeworld weakened. Ships began acting independently, some maintaining the attack while others withdrew in confusion. The perfect army was becoming a group of individuals, each forced to make their own decisions. Admiral Walker watched from the USS Liberty as Unity ships broke formation. "Now they're learning," he said. "Independent thought isn't a weakness, it's what makes humanity strong." Commander Thompson, still monitoring from the space station, reported a significant change in alien behavior. "Their ships are communicating individually now. Some are actually trying to establish direct contact with us." The first message from an independent Unity ship commander arrived at Earth's military headquarters: "We were wrong. We feared your individuality because we didn't understand it. Now we do." President Reed's response was diplomatic but firm: "Understanding is the first step toward peace, but remember, you started this war. We'll end it on our terms." The virus continued to spread through Unity space, not as a weapon of destruction, but as a tool of liberation. Humanity had found a way to win the war without resorting to the violence the Unity had feared. Instead, they gave their enemies the one thing they never knew they needed: the power of individual thought. As the third week of war drew to a close, humanity had achieved something unprecedented. They hadn't just defended Earth, they had fundamentally changed their enemy's entire civilization. The Unity was transforming, and the galaxy would never be the same. 1 month into the conflict, the war had transformed into something entirely unexpected. The Unity's great fleet, once a perfect instrument of destruction, had fractured into countless independent groups. Some remained hostile, clinging to their original mission. Others, awakened to individual consciousness, sought peaceful contact with Earth. Admiral Walker faced a new challenge, distinguishing friend from foe among the alien ships. Every vessel needs to be treated as a potential ally or enemy now, he instructed his fleet commanders. They're individuals making their own choices, just like us. On the Unity homeworld, a remarkable change was taking place. Dr. Kate Wilson, leading a human diplomatic mission aboard the Phoenix, witnessed the transformation firsthand. The once uniform alien society was experiencing its first taste of diversity. Their cities are changing, she reported back to Earth. They're adding personal touches to their buildings, wearing different colors. Some are even choosing names for themselves. They're discovering individuality in ways we never expected. The first Unity leader to embrace independent thought called himself River, chosen after watching Earth broadcasts about nature. He requested a direct meeting with human leaders, breaking thousands of years of Unity protocol. The meeting took place on neutral ground, the International Space Station. Commander Thompson had transformed the station's main module into a makeshift conference room. President Reed represented Earth, while River spoke for the growing faction of independent Unity members. We were taught that individual thought was chaos, River explained, his translator converting his thoughts into human speech. Now we understand that chaos is just another word for freedom. But not all Unity members welcomed this change. A significant faction, led by a commander who named himself Stone, saw the virus as a weapon of mass destruction. They believed humanity had committed an act of cultural genocide by breaking the hive mind. You haven't liberated us, Stone's message echoed across space. You've destroyed everything we are. This means war, real war, not just extinction. Dr. Cooper, monitoring the situation from her lab, made a disturbing discovery. The hostile Unity forces are trying to develop a cure for our virus, she reported. They want to restore the hive mind. This created a new crisis. The freed Unity members had no desire to return to their former state. For the first time in their species' history, they were fighting among themselves. Professor Banks observed the conflict with growing concern. We've sparked a civil war within their civilization, he told the military council. The question is, do we intervene? Humanity faced a moral dilemma. They had started this transformation, did they have a responsibility to help guide it? The answer came from an unexpected source. You showed us freedom, River addressed the UN Security Council. Now help us defend it. Not as our superiors, but as our equals. President Reed's response would shape the future of both species. We'll help you protect your right to think independently, but we won't force our way of life on those who reject it. That's the very freedom we're fighting for. A new phase of the conflict began. Human ships now fought alongside liberal Unity vessels against their conservative counterparts. The irony wasn't lost on anyone, humanity was helping aliens fight for the very individuality they had originally feared. Admiral Walker, commanding a joint human Unity fleet, reflected on the strange turn of events. A month ago, they came to wipe us out because they feared our potential for violence. Now they're learning that the same strength can be used to protect freedom. The Phoenix, now equipped with both human and Unity crew members, led missions to protect newly independent alien worlds. Commander Foster found himself teaching Unity pilots the art of unpredictable thinking, something that would have been impossible weeks ago. As the fourth week of conflict ended, the galaxy witnessed something unprecedented: two species, once deadly enemies, working together to protect the right to think independently. The Unity had feared humanity's capacity for violence, but they were learning to respect their capacity for change instead. 6 weeks into the conflict, the conservative Unity faction unveiled their counterweapon. From their stronghold in the outer colonies, Stone's forces released a modified virus of their own, one designed to forcibly reconnect freed Unity members to the hive mind. Dr. Cooper worked frantically in her lab as reports came in of freed Unity allies falling back under hive mind control. "They've weaponized their own biological technology against their people," she reported to the Emergency Council. "This isn't just a cure, it's forced reconversion." The Phoenix, now serving as the flagship of the joint human Unity fleet, received desperate distress calls from newly liberated worlds. Commander Foster and his mixed crew raced to evacuate as many free-thinking Unity members as possible before Stone's virus reached them. "This is what real extinction looks like," River told President Reed during an emergency transmission. "They're not killing our bodies, they're erasing who we've become." Admiral Walker coordinated with Unity ships that had joined Earth's cause. Together, they established safe zones, regions of space protected by combined fleet patrols. The Free Unity named these zones Think Spaces, the first time in their history they had created their own term for anything. "We need to strike at their production facilities," Walker argued during a joint strategy session. "Every day they manufacture more of this reconversion virus, we lose more allies to the hive mind." Humanity's greatest advantage remained their unpredictability. While Stone's forces maintained rigid, traditional Unity tactics, the combined human-free Unity fleet employed chaos as a weapon. Each ship captain, human or Unity, was encouraged to think independently and creatively. Dr. Wilson, studying the psychological impact of freedom on Unity biology, made a crucial discovery. The longer they remain free, the more resistant they become to reconversion, she explained. Their brains are physically adapting to individual thought. "We don't just need to protect them, we need to buy them time." The stakes became clear when a reconverted Unity ship surrendered to Earth forces. Its crew begged for death rather than return to the hive mind. "You don't understand," the ship's captain told his human captors. "Experiencing freedom and losing it is worse than never having known it at all." President Reed faced the hardest decision of the conflict. Earth's resources were stretched thin, protecting both humanity and their new allies. Some advisors suggested abandoning the outer Unity worlds to focus on defending Earth and nearby systems. "If we abandon them now," Reed addressed the council, "we prove that everything Stone believes about us is true. We're not just fighting for survival anymore, we're fighting for the right to choose who we become." The solution came from an unexpected source. Professor Banks and a team of freed Unity scientists discovered that the same technology used to break the hive mind could be modified to protect against reconversion. They called it the Freedom Shield. "It's not perfect," Banks admitted as the first shields were installed on Unity worlds. "But it will give their minds time to develop natural resistance." The implementation of the Freedom Shield marked a turning point. Stone's forces found their reconversion virus becoming less effective with each passing day. More importantly, Unity members under its protection began developing their own unique cultures and identities. Commander Thompson, coordinating fleet movements from the expanded space station, noticed a pattern in Stone's attacks. "They're getting desperate," she reported. "Their tactics are becoming more aggressive, less calculated. They're starting to think independently too, they just don't realize it yet." As the fifth phase of the war drew to a close, humanity had achieved something remarkable. They had not only survived extinction but had become the guardians of individual thought for another species. The Unity had feared humanity would spread violence across the stars. Instead, they had spread something far more powerful, the right to think freely. Admiral Walker, watching Unity children play aboard the space station, each one displaying distinct personalities, smiled at the irony. "They came to prevent us from reaching the stars," he said. "Instead, we helped them reach themselves." 2 months into the war, Stone's forces launched their most ambitious attack yet. Their target wasn't Earth or the free Unity worlds, it was time itself. Deep in Unity space, they had activated an ancient weapon, one that their species had deemed too dangerous to use even in their most desperate hours. "They're trying to create a temporal storm," Dr. Miller reported, his instruments detecting massive energy surges from Stone's stronghold. "If they succeed, they could undo everything we've accomplished, return the Unity to their original state before we broke the hive mind." Admiral Walker mobilized every available ship in the combined fleet. The Phoenix led the charge, carrying a specially assembled team of human and free Unity scientists. Time was now their enemy in more ways than one. "Stone's not just trying to reconvert everyone," River explained during the emergency briefing. "He's trying to erase the very concept of individual thought from our history. Our people won't even remember they were ever free." Commander Foster, studying the tactical displays aboard the Phoenix, noticed something crucial. The temporal device, it's not fully automated. They need crews to maintain it. Stone's people, they're thinking independently to try to stop independent thought. This revelation gave President Reed an idea. She contacted Dr. Cooper back on Earth. "If they're thinking independently to operate this weapon, they're vulnerable to the same freedom virus that started all this. But we need to get close enough to deploy it." The plan was dangerous but simple. While the main fleet engaged Stone's forces in a massive space battle, a smaller group of ships would slip through the chaos. Their mission: get close enough to the temporal weapon to release a concentrated dose of the freedom virus. "This isn't just about tactics anymore," Walker told the assembled captains. "We're fighting for the right of every being to write their own story. Even those who think they don't want that right." The battle began with the largest fleet engagement in known history. Thousands of ships, both human and Unity, clashed in the space around Stone's stronghold. But unlike the perfect formations of the old Unity, this battle was chaos incarnate, exactly as planned. Aboard the Phoenix, Dr. Wilson made final adjustments to the enhanced freedom virus. "This version works faster than the original," she explained to the strike team. "But we'll need to get it directly into their life support systems. No remote deployment this time." Through the chaos of battle, a small group of ships broke through Stone's defenses. The Phoenix, accompanied by 3 Unity vessels crewed by the first freed pilots, approached the massive temporal weapon. Its surface pulsed with otherworldly energy, distorting space itself around it. "They're trying to power it up early," Professor Banks warned, monitoring the energy readings. "We've got minutes, not hours." Commander Foster executed a maneuver that would have been impossible for the old Unity. He intentionally crashed the Phoenix into the weapon's outer hull, creating a breach just large enough for the strike team to enter. The impact damaged the ship, but as he told his crew, sometimes you have to break things to make them better. Inside the temporal weapon, human and Unity soldiers fought side by side, pushing toward the central control room. They found Stone himself there, surrounded by his most loyal followers. But something was wrong. Stone's movements were erratic, his orders contradictory. "He's breaking," River observed. "Maintaining this weapon requires so much independent thought, the hive mind is failing on its own." The strike team didn't need to fight. They watched as Stone's own officers began questioning his orders, their inherited need for perfect logic warring with the independence they developed without realizing it. The temporal weapon's energy field fluctuated as its operators began thinking for themselves. "You see?" River addressed Stone. "You can't force unity through uniformity. True unity comes from choosing to work together while remaining unique." The weapon's power core began to destabilize. The very tool Stone had intended to use to enforce conformity had become the catalyst for his officers' awakening to individual thought. As alerts blared throughout the station, Stone faced the ultimate choice: maintain control and be destroyed, or accept change and survive. In the end, Stone's choice came not from logical calculation but from something he had fought against his entire life: emotion. As the temporal weapon's core reached critical levels, he looked at his officers, each one now showing signs of individual thought, and made a decision that would reshape the galaxy. "Shut it down," he ordered, his voice carrying a tremor never before heard in Unity speech. "All of it. The weapon, the reconversion virus, everything." The Phoenix's crew watched in amazement as the massive temporal device powered down, its threatening glow fading to darkness. Admiral Walker, coordinating from the fleet's position, received the news with quiet satisfaction. Sometimes the greatest victory is when your enemy chooses to change. Dr. Cooper, analyzing the readings from Earth, confirmed what many had suspected. The temporal weapon's energy field had an unexpected effect, she reported. It accelerated the development of independent neural pathways in every Unity member exposed to it. Stone's weapon didn't just fail, it freed his entire remaining force. President Reed called an immediate ceasefire. Across the battlefield, human and Unity ships stopped firing. The great space battle that had been meant to determine the fate of free will ended not with a bang, but with a realization. "I understand now," Stone told River and Commander Foster in the weapons control room. "We feared humanity's chaos because we couldn't see the strength in it. You don't just survive despite your differences, you thrive because of them." The aftermath of the battle brought rapid changes. Unity society, already transforming under the influence of freedom, underwent a renaissance. Their cities, once uniform and geometric, blossomed with individual expression. Their technology, freed from the constraints of hive mind thinking, advanced in new and unexpected directions. Dr. Wilson documented these changes from the new Joint Species Research Center on Earth. They're developing art, music, literature, things they never had before. Some are even choosing to modify their appearance to express their individuality. But the most profound changes were philosophical. Professor Banks, working with Unity scholars, helped establish the first Unity democracy. "They're learning that disagreement doesn't mean disunity," he observed. "They're finding strength in debate and discussion." Stone, in an unprecedented move, asked to be tried by a joint human Unity court for his actions. His sentence surprised everyone. He was assigned to work with newly freed Unity members, helping them adapt to individual existence. His experience of choosing change made him uniquely qualified to help others through the transition. Admiral Walker and Commander Foster led the effort to transform the war fleet into a peacekeeping force. The Phoenix, repaired and upgraded, became a symbol of cooperation between species. Its crew remained mixed, showing the galaxy what was possible when different species worked together while maintaining their unique identities. "We came to prevent humanity from reaching the stars," River addressed the United Nations. "Instead, you helped us reach our true potential. Our species feared yours would spread violence across the galaxy. We never imagined you would spread freedom instead." President Reed's response became famous throughout both human and Unity space. "The greatest power isn't in forcing others to think like you, but in protecting their right to think differently." 1 year after the Unity's first arrival at Earth, the galaxy was transformed. The species that had come to prevent humanity's chaos from spreading had embraced that very chaos as their salvation. The Unity remained unified, but now through choice rather than compulsion. Dr. Miller, standing on the observation deck of the expanded International Space Station, watched Unity children playing with human kids, each one distinctly individual yet working together in their games. "They feared we would bring war to the stars," he said to Commander Thompson. "Instead, we taught them how to be truly alive." The Unity had learned the hardest lesson any species could face: true strength lies not in perfect uniformity, but in the beautiful chaos of individual thought. And humanity, in teaching this lesson, had proven themselves not to be the destroyers the Unity had feared, but the guardians of freedom they never knew they needed. As ships from both species launched together into the unknown, they carried with them a new understanding: the most powerful force in the universe isn't violence or uniformity, it's the unstoppable power of free will, and the courage to defend it.